In presidential elections in America, the people don't actually vote for president. The people are voting for electors, and these electors meet. There's 538 of them, and they meet in December. The election's in first Tuesday in November. They meet in December, and they actually elect the president. So when you go out and you cast your vote for president, you're not voting for Barack Obama or Mitt Romney. You're voting for an elector who pledges to vote for Barack Obama or Mitt Romney. Now, the reason we have this system is because originally the states were going to get to decide how the electors were chosen, and they did originally. But now every single state simply lets the people vote for electors. So many people have argued that the Electoral College is no longer needed. It's an appendix. It's something that we used to need, but we don't need anymore. The winner-take-all system that exists in all American politics does a number of things. For one thing, it makes it very difficult to run and win as a third party because you're essentially diluting the voting strength of one side or the other and very likely handing victory to the other side. It also gives more emphasis to more populated states because whether you win a state 90-10 or you get 50% of the vote plus one, a win is a win, and it doesn't really matter. And so, for example, we live in Texas, and we don't really get campaigned to. We don't see a lot of commercials. Nobody pays attention to us because it is assumed the Republican will win Texas. California is the biggest state in the union, but the voting there is almost meaningless because it's assumed the Democrat will win it. Whereas you live in a Florida or Ohio, states that are close, they're called purple, could go either way. The candidates are basically going to focus on those states. And of course, if you live in a tiny state like New Hampshire, which could conceivably go either way. It's only 3 electoral votes, so who cares? By the way, real quick, the number of electoral votes each state has is equal to the number of representatives plus senators. Now, every state gets 2 senators, and the smallest states only get 1 representative. So each state has at least 3 electoral votes. But of course, when you look at Texas is in I want to say 37 now. I might be a number or 2 off on that. And California is in the 40s in how many electoral votes it gets. So size definitely matters. So these are all things I've already talked about. If no candidate gets a majority, that's 270 votes, it goes to the House of Representatives where every state gets 1 vote. So there's 50 votes in a tie break. We haven't had one of these since, we've had 2 of them, 1800 and 1824, and we haven't seen one since. It'd be interesting to get another one. And we can pause and look at this. All right. The greater the policy difference between the candidates, the more likely voters will be able to steer the government policy by their choices. But this is unlikely because candidates in elections don't like to take stances. They don't like to differentiate themselves. They both like to pretend that they're right there in the middle. Now, do they govern that way? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. George Bush ran as being the second George Bush ran, and he said he was a uniter, not a divider. He claimed he was a centrist, a moderate, but when he came into office, his policies were considerably far to the right. So, candidates who vow to continue popular policies are more likely to win elections. You might see that recently with all you have to do is hint that someone might be planning to get rid of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and that's usually enough to cost them an election. Voters tend to cast ballots based on what a candidate has done for them lately. And a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with the politicians at all. For example, gas prices are often something people vote on, whereas the president has almost no control over gas prices. Or the economy. The economy is largely, as we're going to see in the third 6 weeks, largely controlled by Congress. But presidents have to either get the credit or take the blame if the economy goes bad. Elections generally support government policies and power. Most elections, people are asking for the government to fix something. Rarely are elections decided because people are asking the government to do less of something, unless it's taxed them, of course. Voters like to feel they are sending a message to the government to accomplish something. For example, when Barack Obama was elected in 2008, the message seemed clear. The people were unhappy with the way things were going. And now, 4 years later, people tend to not feel things have changed very much, and this is a great weakness for President Obama. As they feel maybe that change wasn't delivered on. So, government, trying to answer everybody's demands, has a tendency to expand and to sprawl as it tries to make all of these different groups of voters happy. And that's one of the reasons for the expansion of government. All right, so that's a little bit about elections. There's a little one-page summary if you want to take a look at that. And that's that.